getting ready for Real Talk with Carla J. coming on live. Come on, KCOH to the listeners and followers. We're getting ready for a brand new show, Real Talk with Carla J. Hello, everybody. I'm Carla J, and welcome to Real Talk. I am super excited to be back with you today. Hey, they didn't fire me, so I guess that's a plus, huh? But nevertheless, I'm glad to be back here. I hope and pray that all of you had an awesome weekend. I know I did. Went to church yesterday. Also, had a very special day on Saturday. Attended memorial service for a wonderful man, Bishop H.M. Bolding. I'm going to be talking about him really briefly in Carla J. Tidbits, which I'm going to do at the end of the show today. But no further ado, I have a very, very, very special guest in the studio with me today. But before I officially introduce her, let me just tell you how we met. I attend a lot of events, and this young lady, beautiful woman, was speaking at this event, and she was talking about her new book, A Shopper's Guide to Dating. And I was so impressed and so just excited about this book that I purchased it for a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, and even had her to autograph it for me. And the book is so good, y'all. I kid you not. I still have my friend's autographed copy. So I will be purchasing another book today.
For
and
her?
You can, yes, for her. For her. Hopefully she'll get it as well. But nevertheless, I'm so glad that she's able to join me in the studio today. I am honored by her presence, and I believe that what she has to share with you today is going to bless you as well. So no further ado, with me in the studio today is my dear friend JacquiHill-Goudeau. So welcome.
Hey.
Thank you so very much. Let's get started.
Okay.
So, who is JacquiHill-Goudeau?
I wish I knew. No, I'm just okay. All right. I'm a single parent now. I am an author. I call myself a life renovator. I don't know how everybody gets to be a coach, but I figured if it takes something to be one, you shouldn't just become one. So I'm a life renovator. I don't want to be on the sidelines of your life forever, telling you every point you got to do to go through life. So I just help you with a little bit, and I leave you to your home, and leave you to God, who should be the one who you're really going to for all your life. So, I'm just someone who really I've come into my purpose. I'm enjoying walking in it. I'm loving the fact that God is using my kids and that He's in charge of their lives, and I'm just a happy Christian today.
That's just perfect. I like what you said, walking in your purpose. Oh, that just gives me chills. It's wonderful to walk in your purpose, right?
It is. It's good to discover it, and sometimes it takes us it feels like a lifetime. But at some point, we've got to start deciding that we're here for a reason. And if we never figure out what the reason is, that's when depression can overtake you. Because if you always know why you're here, it'll keep you going. The Bible says, Jesus said, for the joy that was set before Him, He endured the cross. If you're going to endure the heavy stuff of today, you got to know where you're going. And that's connected to your purpose.
And that's connected to your purpose. So thank you very much. Now, how did this awesome book come about?
It's interesting because I had the idea of this book when I was yet married. I was married for 20 years. I had the idea of the book. But I thought, nobody wants to hear about dating from a married person. They're like, you're so detached from where we are today. Don't even try it, So I never wrote it. It just stayed in the back of my mind. And every so often I would see something that would remind me of it. So there was a woman I was talking to once, and she was talking about how she just doesn't think she'll ever get married, and how hard it was to date and all of this. And then one day, in a completely different conversation, she was talking about her shopping habits. And she was talking about how she goes far away to buy things, and she doesn't take a lot of money, and she's able to do all this stuff and get all this stuff for next to nothing. And I thought, I said, she probably dates the way she shops. And I went, ding,
epiphany,
just like that. And ever since, once I get that little ding, I started thinking and noticing shopping habits, mostly other people, because I hated shopping, which I hate dating. So, I hated shopping. But then I started pulling it all together, and it became what it is today.
Right, and that's I think that's what I really love about this book. I mean, I've just gone through it several times, and I love the correlation between shopping and dating, and you draw to some great analogies, and I really love that about that. How long did it take you to write the book? And I think you also mentioned to me in a prior conversation that you have a special way of writing.
Right.
You want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah. Well, it took, I would say about a year, because it was kind of an on and off type thing. But one thing that I do to help keep me on target, because during the time that I was writing this was one of the books that came after, well, all of them, except for one, came after I was divorced. But I actually had to get away from my house. So I would take a little kind of mini vacation of sorts. I call it my writer's retreat. I would go to a hotel somewhere nearby so I could get home and do something for my son if I had to. But I would stay there just Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and I would just focus. I'd only take the music. I wanted to hear the food. I wanted to eat, and I would never leave the room. I would just get in there, talk to God, cry some, do whatever. And I would come out, and I would start with my outline, and once I got the outline, it was almost like putting together a message. Each chapter becomes a message, and I would just get with God and say, okay, God, what do we want to do here? What do we want to do there? And so it took me about a year, but that was the editing, that was the proofing, that was everything in that year, and by the next year I had released the book. And I wanted to do it intentionally in time for Valentine's Day.
Oh, intentionally for Valentine's Day. How awesome is that?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much through all of the writing, did you have to take multiple trips to your writer's retreat, if you will, or you wrote just about
I couldn't
anywhere?
afford multiple trips. That wasn't happening. So I had to really make sure that one was extremely meaningful.
Meaningful.
The rest of the time, it would be at home while the dog is looking at me like, take me outside. The fish, you go by the tank and they're like, have you got to feed us or what? You know? I mean, you have to deal with all of those things. The laundry is, finished. All of those distractions, but this one time getting away gave me the time to really focus on the meat of the book.
The meat of the
book. The heart of God for the book. And then the rest of it made it easier.
I like that, and I love your spirituality. I think that was one of the things, another thing that just drew me to you. I just love your spirituality. I also like to talk about, you said you're divorced. After reading this book and going through it, I'm thinking to myself, it is a great guide. That's why I promoted it so much on social media. This is, I'm telling you, y'all, if you're listening out there, I want you to call a friend, call anybody to let them know to tune in, because I really love the advice and the things that you show in here and that you tell in here. With that being said, do you think in hindsight, everybody says hindsight is 20/20.
Right.
Do you think this book could have possibly served you well in your marriage?
Yes, it would have served me well before my marriage as well. I mean, it really would have, because I found out, even in writing the book, it's helped me since then. But even in hindsight, I realized it would have been helpful, because it would have made me really pay attention to some things about me that were genuinely me. And I wouldn't have tried so hard to change those things. When we deal with alterations, when we deal with stuff like that, there's a lot of things that I probably would have realized. I like comfort. I really do. What I'm wearing today, it may be cute. Everybody may think it's cute. That's wonderful. But for me, the first thing it is comfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable if I have to go through the day pulling on things, doing all of this stuff. I don't like being uncomfortable. If I have to deal with uncomfortable people, I don't want to be uncomfortable doing it. And so for me, what I always look for first is comfort.
It's comfort.
Yes, and so I went through a marriage, and there was a lot of things I did that were uncomfortable for me, but I did it for the sake of the relationship, when I never knew that this is never going to work good for you, because you are way too uncomfortable. Way too uncomfortable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
it would have helped me out beforehand and during. I would have realized, even for him, that there were some things that were genuine about him that I shouldn't try to change. Just admit, this is this, this is this. That's what it is.
That's right. Would you have gotten married? Would you have even gotten married
Oh,
now?
I've always wanted to get married. You know how we are.
Oh, would you have married that person?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I would have spent more time, and we're jumping ahead, in the fitting room.
Oh, in the fit.
I would have spent more time, and I would have realized, and I did that. If you read the book about that little skirt I was trying, that dress I was trying to get, a white dress, I put it on. I needed it quickly.
Right.
I went and tried it on, looked around and everything, and it looked good. It was, it just fit well, everything. I went to my special ceremonial service at our church that night in this beautiful white dress that I picked just out of need.
Right.
And I went in there, and the lining of the dress crawled the whole time, the whole night. I literally left the front row where I was sitting, went to the back to the sound booth, said excuse me to the men, and pulled my slip back down again. The lining on the dress. I was so uncomfortable in that dress. And I didn't know, because I didn't spend enough time testing it out, moving in it to see, you know, if I walk out of this fitting room, is it crawling? I didn't spend enough time. Yeah. So it probably would have changed some things if I would have thought about it in the way that the book talks about.
Exactly. Well, I have to say again, this is an awesome book. My only regret is that we only have an hour show. That's my only regret, because I mean, when you go through the chapters, and let me just really briefly, shopping and dating, the shopping list, spirit, soul, and body, fitting room, the alteration shop. I mean, the list goes on, and this is an exciting book. But since it's so exciting, I think it's time to dive into it.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive into it. You start off by saying that sometimes we are unaware of how we appear to others, and they have no clue as to how they appear to us. Elaborate on that.
Well, when we shop, one thing that I worked in retail for many years ago. I worked in retail, and one thing that we did that I was good at was merchandising, getting things, setting up in the window, you know, so that it would appear in a way to draw the people who were interested in this look.
Right.
A lot of times we don't really know what we're showing people. We don't get the fact that our social media, you know, the way we talk about past relationships, the way we talk about current relationships, the way we deal with our family, the way we deal with our moms and our dads, we don't realize that all of that is merchandising. All of those things people are looking at, and they make a decision about you in a moment. We always talk about first impressions. First impressions are very real, and it's real. I remember talking to a young man once because I saw something he had posted on social media. I sent him a note and I said, "Hey, I just want to know, are you ever planning on getting married?" And he says, "Yeah, I'd like to." And he was kind of nervous, you know, because he was younger, and he kind of looked at me like, I guess, mentoring. And I said, "Well, you may want to be aware of some of the things you say on social media." I said, "Because you don't know what woman is reading this, and you don't know how that makes you look." So sometimes we're completely unaware of the fact that we are basically advertising ourselves and how we are every single day.
And do you find that sometimes it's difficult for people to take an introspective look at who they really are? It's easier for some or most of us to look outwardly and not inwardly.
Well, it is, and it's also easier for us to decide that how we want to look to others depends on how people are looking at us. So we change who we are to accommodate the eyes instead of being genuine.
Aesthetics.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you know, if everybody's doing this, you know, we kind of gravitate towards what the peers are doing instead of being who we are. So if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. So the same way, if you look like everybody else in your group, there's a reputation that goes with that group that now follows you. But you may be nothing like your buddies. And the guy that wants you may be nothing like the ones looking at them. But you've just subjected yourself to what the group is getting. You know, or girls, because it is for guys or girls. The men are just scared.
Yeah. Oh, the men are just scared.
All
scared.
Right. They think I'm trying to hook them up.
Something else in the book. I mean, I really love this. You said some shoppers only look for deals. And I think to myself, look, if you're only looking for a deal, that's a deal breaker, pun intended. Yes. That is a deal breaker. So you're saying that some people out there are only looking for deals. That's kind of scary when you're talking about relationships, right? Right,
it's very scary. And one thing with the book, when we deal with shopping and dating, one thing to remember is that when we're talking about shopping, it's not a quality of a person that we're making distinctions about. Like a deal is a guy who's, you know, no good or what. It's what you're willing to pay for something. A lot of us are not willing to pay the price for certain types of relationships. If I decide to get into a relationship with someone who is a senator, there's a price that comes with that type of relationship. It comes whether you want it or not. We look at our political system today and see some of the wives or the husbands who are subject to whatever happens with their spouse. That's a price. If all you want is a deal, then you need to just know that about yourself and realize that I'm not going to pull this type of caliber because I don't have what it takes to get it, nor what it takes to keep it.
Very good.
Because I'm not willing to pay that price. And if all you want is a deal, then you have to also understand that it may speak to the quality that you get because you're not willing to pay a price.
Why do you think some people, well, I have a reasoning behind it. I think why people look for deals, I think it has to do with sometimes probably a lack of self-esteem, a lack of self-awareness. Why do you think people would deliberately or non-deliberately look for deals and sabotage relationships?
Okay, so let's again do the comparison. When we're talking about shopping for clothing, because we only deal with clothing and personal things, but when we're talking about something like that, a lot of times it's, I don't want to feel like you're getting over on me. I don't want to feel like I'm paying more than I need to for something that I'm not sure what it's really worth. That means we haven't spent enough time understanding what it's worth. So we're not willing to pay too much. So I need to go somewhere where you'll negotiate with me and we'll drop this price down and I can brag about the fact that I don't have to pay a lot. You know, well, the same thing can happen in relationships. We want things to be easy. We don't want to fight for it. We don't want to we don't want to change. We don't want to have to do things because the price to pay for a relationship is not monetary. It's my time, it's my will, it's my emotions, it's you know, who I am adjusting to fit you. I mean, there is a price to pay, and if we're not willing to pay that, we need to be honest, we probably don't need to be in a relationship, because no matter what relationship you're going to get in, it's going to have a price tag that comes with it.
Wow, I love that. See, I tell you, I love her analogies. I love your analogies. And marriage is hard. Relationships are hard. People sometimes look at my marriage and say, you know, it's a wonderful marriage, but marriage is work. And I think sometimes people just aren't aware of what it takes, and that we're too busy looking on the outside at others and what they have, and we're totally in the dark about what it actually takes, you know, to make a relationship work.
Right, and sometimes it's pride. Because have you ever seen a situation where somebody believes that if they get with, okay, let's just do a divorce situation, somebody who's been divorced, and this relationship that they had was horrible, and everybody knows it was wonderful, but if I get with him, it's going to be different. Why is it going to be different? What is so special about me that I'm going to make you different than what you were in that relationship? Sometimes it's pride. We really think that we are deserving of something and able to do something that others haven't done. It's almost like if you see a dress on TV that didn't look good on anybody, they put it on. But somehow or another, I believe that if I buy the dress, it's going to fit me perfect and it's going to look wonderful on me. You get it looks just as bad, but you're too proud to admit that it looks horrible. It looks horrible.
Wow.
Yeah, so sometimes we do that with relationships. We think that somehow we have the secret that's going to make our marriage different. A lot of young people think that way. You hear them when they post and they do things. Everything sounds like it's cloud nine, like it's wonderful. They don't talk a whole lot about the struggle of communication or the disagreements or anything. Not that we want to hear all that, but they won't admit that those things happen because they want to believe my relationship is so unique that it doesn't have the discomforts that others do.
Wow.
And they look at you and they want to believe that for you as well.
And believe it for me.
Yours looks that way because I want to keep hope alive. I want to keep hope alive.
Exactly. No, I do. And let me tell you, this next section just had me just almost rolling on the floor, because I can't tell you how many times I've gone shopping hungry.
Okay.
I've gone shopping hungry, or I've even gone out to eat super hungry. But when we go shopping hungry, we tend to buy things that we don't need. What happens when we go shopping hungry in a relationship?
Okay.
What does that look like?
It means that there's something lacking. First of all, let's deal with the hungry part. The hungry part is not you're desperate, even though you can be. It just means that there may be something lacking in you, that when you go out there, there's a need. There's a need. So you're going shopping hungry. Well, when it comes to dating, now, let's do shopping first. When you go shopping hungry, we have a tendency to buy things that are not good for us.
Definitely.
Stuff that just basically gets rid of the immediate hunger, but it's no good for you overall. We don't usually go shopping hungry and grab broccoli. You know, I mean, we just don't. You go to the little grab real quick stuff that you can
Not
eat.
the average one of us, no.
A few people will go and while they're in the store grab some grapes, you know, or whatever. But if you go shopping hungry, you're subject to purchase things that are not what you originally set out to get. So the same way in a relationship, if you go out there and you're like, I need to be married before I'm 30. Or I want to be this, or I'm tired of being lonely, or I'm tired of not having somebody to come home to. Or if you go out there and you say, I'm going to do this thing, and you go out there, you're basically hungry. So you're subject to excuse some things that you would normally not even give ear to. You're willing to excuse some things, and you can end up going home with something that does not fit. Something that you would not have gotten originally. It looks better on the dummy. It looks better on the dummy. You
Wow.
didn't. It looked real good on the dummy, but when you got it home, it doesn't even fit you.
Exactly.
It's not suitable for you at all because the think goes out. When you're hungry, the think goes out. You know, you go there, you shop, and you know good and well your head hurts when you eat all that icing, but you're not thinking about that. The think goes out. You grab it because it's a honey bun, and you want to get it, and you go. You know, so yeah. So shopping hungry is a big no-no.
Shopping hungry is a big no-no. Also, one of the things I really love about this book is that it's not just for single people. I've been married almost 22 years. And this next section that we're about to talk about, I find that anybody, married, single, will find this beneficial. And here you talk about making a list of certain things or questions that you may need to ask, that you probably do need to ask. And when I saw this list, I wrote next to it, I love these questions. And I think, like I said, anybody can ask these questions, a single person or somebody who's in a relationship. And no way am I advocating divorce, but sometimes we need to just stop the press. And we need to stop and take an introspective look at relationships. And I love, it's 9 questions. When you get the book, not if, because I know you're going to purchase the book. It's sold wherever books are sold. On page 43, Jacqui has a list of questions. Number 1, I love it. How does the garment make you feel? That's so important. Talk about that just briefly.
Well, when we're buying clothes, of course, I'm big on comfort, so I'm going to think that. But it's not just a physical feeling. How do I feel when I wear this? Do I feel important? Do I feel like I'm giving my best? Do I feel like I'm successful? Do I feel whole? You know, and so if we would think even those types of thoughts when we're trying on garments, when we're talking about a relationship, how does this person make you feel? Do you feel you can conquer the world? Do you feel like we're going to be okay? Or do you feel like, well, I better not do that because they don't like this, or I better not do this? And are you sinking down? Are your feelings going down? Or do you feel like, you know what, we're going to do this thing. This is going to be good. There is something about knowing how you feel when you connect with somebody.
You know, I almost see, as you're talking, almost with a technology background, I almost see like a flow chart. You know, like here, how does this garment make me feel? Good here, bad here. So when you get to that point and you ask the question, I think it's really good to ask the question, but you have to respond and be truthful with the with what's coming back. The next thing you said, is this a good fit for my life and my purpose? That is so profound, but we don't ask that. Sometimes we just get caught up in being with someone. So, you know, how good of a fit is this for my life and purpose?
Because a lot of times we don't think that relationships have anything to do with our purpose. We just think it's a thing of finding someone who's cute that you like. You guys get together, have these really cute kids that look like both of you, and you go on and you do life together. You know, we think that it's going to be something like that. But it's really, God ordained things on purpose. He's an extremely purposeful God. You can't get, I mean, God is just purposeful. Let's just leave it like that. Everything he's done for a reason. He doesn't do things on accident. It's not haphazard. So the purpose that is in us, how does that match with this person? Can you see them fitting in not what we are going to do together? Because every individual has a purpose. If your purpose and their purpose match and it goes together, that's wonderful. That means you guys can really do ministry together. But a lot of us, we're not really trying to do that. I know sometimes there's different men, they're not interested in getting up there and talking and doing all this stuff, but maybe that's what you do, and that's okay. But do they fit enough to where it's not going to be a burden on what God has called you to do? If it's not, you need to examine it, because it may not be a good fit, not just for you as a person, but for you as who God has designed you to be.
That's awesome. I love that. Next, does it bring out my better qualities? Does it bring out my better qualities? It's really important. And I don't think a lot of us think about that. Sometimes I think we're so into pleasing the other person that we sometimes forget about ourselves.
Because in all of us, we have good things about us. You know, there's bad things as well. But they, you know, any kind of attribute that is negative is just being misused. They say any negative trait is a positive quality that is being misused. So we just haven't learned how to use it. But if we go again to the shopping side,
Right.
if I have if I have certain features about me that are really nice, does this complement the things about me that are good? Does it hide the things about me that are not so good? Those are the types of things we look for when we purchase clothes, or at least we should. Some folks didn't do the quick check in the mirror before they got out, but some things about us are good. So in getting in a relationship, it's almost like, how does this match with the good parts of me? Do they complement the good parts of me? Do they understand that there's some things about me that are not good, and they can constructively help me to hide those things, to curve those things, to camouflage those things about me that are less, if I have a temper, are they there to say, okay, you just count to 5.
Well, that.
Just 5 right now. We don't even need you to go to 10. Just count to 5. Do they complement me so that the better parts of me can be seen by the people around us? That's what you want. You want someone that can help you, and you can help them as well.
Exactly. Next one, does it help or hide? Does it help camouflage my challenging areas? I remember many years ago, before Honey Lumps, probably 30 years ago, dating someone who I had some challenging areas, and he wasn't supportive in those challenging areas. And as opposed to me, looking at him and telling him, I need you to support me in my challenging areas, I found myself trying to work with that on my own, my challenging areas on my own. And I just know it's really important when you have somebody who can hook up and link up with you to support you in those challenging areas. How important is that?
Right. It's very important, and that's one of the things that comes with the price. The price that you're willing to pay. If you spend enough time with someone and you realize they have challenging areas, are you a good match for that? And are you willing to be in there with them when they go through the journey to get better?
So it's important to know the price.
It's important to know, because that's the price that if I'm not the one with that particular, because we all got challenging areas, but if I don't have that particular one, but I know you do, am I willing to sacrifice the time it's going to take to ensure that you're well? And that whatever the journey is, it's almost like marrying somebody who has a physical ailment.
Right.
Are we willing to do that? Am I willing to pay that price? Some people will tell you up front, I couldn't do that. Right. And that's okay.
And
there's not a thing wrong with it.
And then you have those who will tell you they will, and
but
they
won't.
Don't. But they don't.
They don't.
So that's really important. Next, is the fabric irritating or causing unnecessary discomfort? Why do we can ask that about clothing. I know I'm really picky. I can shop anywhere. But if something, I don't particularly like to wear wool on my skin. But I'm really quick about that. No, I don't want wool. I don't want this. I don't like tights. I'm just getting back into whites. I'm not there yet. But we're so good at determining what we will and won't, what we will and will not accept with our bodies in like clothing. But why are we not about that business when it comes to relationships?
When it comes to the fabric is more than the look. It goes with the look. But sometimes we like the look, but we don't like the fabric. But we won't admit it if we're trying to sacrifice for the look. We will deal with a relationship that looks a certain way. But the fabric, when you get home, you're itchy. It's just irritating. You just can't, you're just constantly like, why did I even get into this relationship? This is so irritates me. But then, because everybody says how good you look, you'll put up with the look and sacrifice the fact that this fabric irritates me.
And that's why I think it's so important not to look at somebody's relationship and try to
they
draw
conclusions. They
may be doing a lot of scratching behind closed doors. Exactly. So to keep that in mind. Next, can I live and feel good with this item? God, that's a very important question. A life question.
It's a life question. It shouldn't be a moment question. Because if you're asking it just for the moment, then you haven't. We can live with almost anything for a moment. We can deal with some things for a moment, but moments pass. And if you're talking about getting into a relationship with someone, you have to know, first of all, what am I trying to do here? Am I just trying to have moments with people, or am I trying to make a life? And if you're trying to make a life, we have to be honest.
We have to be honest, and sometimes I think we get caught up in moments.
Yeah, we do.
We get caught up in
fun.
Moments are fun.
They're fun, but the Bible talks about, some people choose to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. But you're going to have to live eternally with the consequences.
Eternally with the consequences.
Yeah.
That's so important. Gosh, I love you, Jacqui. Do I genuinely love this? That's a hard question. And you know what? I really believe that if people would stop and ask these questions and really be truthful with themselves, the answers would come.
It would change.
But that's a very good question. Do I genuinely love this? Do I genuinely love what I'm about to go through or what I'm going through? What do you say to that?
And I think genuinely loving something is all of those things included. It's how it makes me feel. It's you know, the longevity of how it's going to be in the long term, how I look in it. It's a little bit of all of that. And when we deal with relationships that way, do I genuinely love this person? Meaning, regardless to how much my mom loves this person, or how much, you know, my friends love this person, or anything like that, do I look at this person and understand that every bit of you holds something that I love? And not just that, but is it mutual? Because sometimes we can do all of that and find somebody that we genuinely love, but they discard us. You know, so we have to, you know, it needs to be a mutual thing where we realize that we're in this thing for each other. It's not one-sided. We're in this together. I'm glad
you mentioned it's not one-sided, because the other day when you and I were talking, how some people think a relationship is 50-50 or 100-100, and you were talking about that no relationship is, you said, to strive for 100 as a unit.
As a unit.
As
together.
a unit.
Because some days, we know we're never always on 100, even though we say we want to keep it 100, well, let's keep it 100. We're not always 100.
Right.
Sometimes on any given day, I may be giving you 60.
Right.
Can you, you know, kick in the rest, or I may give you 40. Can you kick in the rest? I mean, it's like we need to keep our relationship at 100. And that takes both of us giving equally, or giving what we can when the other is lacking.
And I'm glad you said that. And so that leads me to believe and think about the utter importance of transparency.
Right.
Because, you know, if I know I'm coming into a relationship with a flaw, which we all have flaws, but a major flaw, and that may cause a problem later on in the relationship, it is vitally important to be transparent, to say, hey, look, I snore. Well, don't snore, but, you know, I snore, or I whatever. Isn't it important to be transparent?
It is important.
But oftentimes we don't want to do that. You know, like dating. When you're dating, you don't want to eat all of like you normally would. But it's important to be transparent.
It's important because the truth of the matter is you are who you are. Why try to be somebody else? I mean, it does no good to you, and it does no good to the people who are trying to get to know you, because then you show them something later that is completely different from what they bought. You know, and we talked about that, the knockoff. You're basically a knockoff.
Right.
If you appear to be something that is of a higher quality or that looks different to make yourself look better than who you actually are. If you're a country girl, admit you're a country girl. If you like walking around barefoot all the time, that's just the truth of the matter.
Right.
But if you go and you want to walk around in stilettos all the time to draw a certain type of person so they think something about you, you're basically a knockoff.
Right.
Because when they get you, and then a couple of weeks or a month or a year into it, you running around barefoot with straw in your teeth, they realize you was a country girl. But now they made a purchase based on a lie.
Based on a lie.
So, I mean, we don't like the thought of having to admit that we have flaws. And I like what you say about transparency. We need, I mean, you know, if they want you still after you just let them know where you are and everything, then it just is what it is. If they don't want you after that, it is what it is.
And you know what? I think that's why it's so important for you to know who you are.
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you something. When I look back on my life, I realized that I made the most mistakes when I did not know who I was.
Right.
You know, sometimes if you don't know what you're bringing to the table, you can't have a decent meal. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
so it's really important to first know who you are, because if you don't really know who you are, then how can you be transparent? How can you really be transparent? So that's really good there. Next, is it too flashy or too boring for my personality?
Right.
That's a great question. I know some people in relationships and say, well, you know what? John doesn't like to go out. My first question will be, well, did he like to do that when you were dating? Well, yeah, but I thought so That's really important. That's a whole nother subject. You know,
That's
some
another
people
one.
think that they will change, but that's a good question to ask. Is it one of another great question? Is he too flashy? Is he or she too flashy or too boring? Why is that a good question?
Right. Because some of us are flashy. We do like to go out. We're out. I'm an introvert. Serious introvert. People don't believe that, but that's okay.
I don't believe that.
And I'm okay with it. I just let people. I really am. I can stay at home and do what I need to do, work in my garden, whatever. I'm really an introvert. If I was to get with someone who was an extrovert who expected me to go and do everything they do in the course of a weekend where they're wore out, tired, that's not a good connection for me. And I get that, and I'm okay if you want to do that without me. So that's a conversation we need to have. If you want to do it, and on occasion I'll go with you. But I know that would wear me out. I need to be at home and recoup and rejuvenate and stuff. So so we need to be able to ask those type of questions.
And don't you think too that some people during the dating process, they're so much about doing things that they wouldn't normally do, but to woo the person, they tend to do things that's not normally what they would do, only to find when they get in the relationship. And too often as well, people will do a lot of things to get the person, only to get with them, and planning
have
on
no intention of
and
doing
no
this
intention.
later. And that's why you have
Hypocrisy.
to spend time.
Yeah, you have to spend time.
I tell people sometimes you have to see them in every season. You
I
need to
love
take the
that.
time to be able to see
them in every season. And seasons do not come, just immediately.
Every
it takes
week,
time.
except in
every
Houston.
week, in Houston. So with that, see them in every season. I love that. That's another book. Think about that.
Okay.
But anyway, that's really important to see them in every season. So the first thing that comes to my mind is time. But we've almost turned into a right now generation. If I can't have it now, if I can't have you now, then it must not be for me. But that's really good.
That's kind of shopping off the rack. When you are going to just grab stuff just to grab stuff because you just don't want to wait, that's fine. But then you get what you got.
You get what you got?
You get what you got.
Wow.
And then you're subject later on in the book for refunds.
Refunds. I tell you.
For refunds.
All right, moving along. What is the purpose of my purchase? And does this meet it? Wow. That's a powerful question. Simply yet profound, but must and should be asked. What do you say to that?
Well, if you are going somewhere and you know that there's a purpose behind something that you're getting, the one thing that we do when we're buying clothes, if I know I'm going to a wedding and it's going to be outside in Houston, there's certain things I'm looking for because of the purpose. And so there's certain things I need this garment to meet this purpose. So I don't want wool. I don't want anything heavy. I don't want anything that shows sweat marks. There's certain things I'm looking at because of what I'm trying to get. We spend that much time thinking about a purchase that is going to wear out and be gone. But we have a relationship that should be able to continue. And we don't take the same approach in thinking, what is the reason I want to be married? What is the purpose in connecting with this individual? Is this something that meets the purpose that God has given me? If it doesn't meet, if it's not suitable, be honest. It's okay to walk away. So we have to just ask ourselves questions and be honest with ourselves about the answers.
And be honest with yourselves about the answers. I know in the book you mentioned about counseling with a couple where I think the gentleman, he was doing something, and you asked his fiance, do you think this is a change, or how do you feel about this?
Right.
And I think she said she'd pray about it.
Oh, yes.
So, it's not, some of us will ask the questions, get the correct answer, but yet think that we could possibly change the individual. That's dangerous.
It's very dangerous because that couple ended up separated years later. Well, not even a full year later under unnecessary circumstances, because there was a thought that, especially as Christians, that even though this doesn't look like I need it to look, I'm just going to pray about it. And it's like I can just pray about it and that'll be enough. No, we need to, faith without works is dead. We've got to be able to put our actions along with our faith.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. We got to pay some bills right now. We will be right back with JacquiHill-Goudeau in the studio. Going back years of administration. But we're going to commercial break. Thank you. Hello, everybody. We have in the studio with us today a wonderful person, JacquiHill-Goudeau. And if you're looking for a couple of forevers, look, you need to get this book, The Shopper's Guide to Dating. If you're looking for a couple of forevers, you must get this book. I am so excited about it. Just a recap of what we talked about. We've talked about shopping hungry. We've talked about dating on purpose. We've talked about shopping for a deal, which is a definite deal breaker. So this is just a wonderful show. Jacqui, I'm really excited that you're here. Since you alluded to earlier about knockoffs, I hadn't planned to talk about it. There's so many things in this book. We just don't have time. Maybe we can get you back on the show. I'd love to have you back. But talk briefly about what you meant about knockoffs.
Okay. Knockoffs, there's two different kinds. There's the original knockoff, which is the person who, let's take shopping again. I always have to keep it in our minds that way. When you're shopping, a knockoff is something that appears to be a different quality than what it actually is. They may give you something on there that gives you the impression that is something that is of high price, high quality, worth having, and you purchase it at the price that you think you would pay for that, a decent price, but you're not getting what you paid for. That's the original knockoff. And an intentional knockoff is, like I said about the country guy, I know a guy, he drives a truck. He's the only person in his whole neighborhood who drives a truck, because everybody has, really nice, vehicles. He drives a truck because of what he does for a living. But if anybody followed him in his jeans and his t-shirt through the day, they would think one thing about him. If they followed him home when his garage goes up on this huge 3-car garage, house, they would get a different impression of him. He's an unintentional knockoff. He's not trying to fool you. He's just doing his life the way he needs to do it normally, wearing his jeans and his t-shirts. But people will judge him because of that, not give him a chance because he doesn't look like the guy with this big house over here. Whereas others will chase after the person who has that look, but they may go home to living in their car, with a dinky apartment somewhere. So there's knockoffs, people who want you to believe one thing about them as a person, and they give you that, mostly in the dating thing. They let you see the best of them, or they make it look like I got that bill. They give you an impression about something that is not accurate, and you can purchase or go into something having been deceived.
That's very good. So to me, as you were talking, the one word just kept playing over and over in my head, and that one word is time. You have to take time to get to know a person. And that way you hopefully, they will either slip up or either just show you who they really are. And you will be able to see the knockoff.
Yes, in the book it says time is what checks the label of your life. So if you have what looks like a Gucci label on you, time will tell the label of your life. After a while, like you said, I'll see who you really are.
You'll see who you really are. That's good. That's fantastic. Boy, I tell you. When you and I had talked the other day, you had mentioned possibly doing an edit of your book.
Yes, yes.
And to add a section, I could have just fell out of my chair. A section on layaway.
Yes.
It's not in the book, but you're thinking about doing an edit.
I could have it in there within a couple of weeks. That's
perfect.
So cool.
Perfect. So talk about that really briefly.
Okay, layaway is interesting, and a lot of people nowadays don't deal with layaway. But when I was in retail, we had layaway almost everywhere. You could do layaway for Christmas. You could do layaway just for something you want to wait till pay period to get it.
I kept layaways at Kmart.
Yes, but what it required of you was to put something down so that they can hold something for you. Okay, and they would hold it for you, and all you had to do to maintain that layaway was make little payments here and there. They'd even let you kind of skip a little if you made sure you made a payment, but you would make the payment until you paid it off, and at that point, you could take it home with you. The problem with that when it comes to relationships is a lot of us have been on layaway. We're in relationships that nobody has made a purchase. Nobody has made the full purchase. You are literally on hold for this person. And they keep you there by making little installments of love. They show you a little bit of attention. They take you somewhere one day. They give you a ring and say they're sorry, or they do this, or they do that, or they cook a meal for you, or she does this. I mean, we have been in situations, and it's a hard thing to admit that that's you.
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to feel that.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. So I'm sorry, you guys, but it's one of those things where it hurts to know that your life has been put on hold for somebody else. They are still free. Look at this, to shop around because they have not yet made the purchase. And at any time during the layaway process, all you have to do to lose that layaway is stop making payments.
Stop making payments.
That's all you got to do.
That all too well.
So yeah.
One of the things come to mind as you say that is an old adage: why buy the cow if the milk is free? I don't have to buy the cow if the milk is free. And I think people are doing that, and to me that ties directly into a layaway. Why do you think people? I think I know why, but why do you think someone would allow themselves to be put, on layaway, or be in a relationship that involves a layaway like that?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is, and it sounds so cliche, but it comes back to self-worth. Knowing that there's too much for you to do in this life to be on hold behind anybody. There's just too much. If we know our purpose, if we know why we're here, we can't afford to be sitting on the back shelf in some store waiting to be used. We are supposed to be going about our life, doing what we're called to do, and that's the best time to be found. The best time to be found is when you're working your purpose, because you're your happiest, you're being genuine to who you are. But if they got you on hold somewhere, whether male or female, if they have you on hold, you basically are on hold for them. Exactly. So you're not really doing the things that you need to do. So the bigger problem, other than being the person on hold, is being the person who's got someone on hold. And we have to own up to that ourselves as well, because men or women, we've got some people at times that we've got on hold because we're not ready. Well, if you're not ready, be honest, you're not ready, let them go.
Right, and a lot of people have trouble with that. Well, I am so excited that you took time to be a guest on the show today. How can people hear more from you? I know your book is available. You have several other books, I think 4 other books.
Yes.
The titles are?
The first one I did was Getting the Lumps Out of Blended Families. That's available only on Amazon. But then the other ones were, it's just a compilation of poems that I put. It's called Good Old Gumbo for the Soul. Another one is called Embarrassing Faith. That one deals with the embarrassing things in life that we stop going to the altar and ask for prayer because everybody in church knows you need it, and you've been asking for prayer and it still ain't happened, so you're embarrassed, but you got to do the things for it to be faith. Like Sarah and Abraham, they had to do the natural things if they wanted to have a baby, even though it's embarrassing at this point. Things are dead, things ain't working like it used to work. They had no Viagra back then. It can be embarrassing to continue to do the things, but that's called faith. If you continue to honor God and do the things that He requires for you to receive it. So that one's Embarrassing Faith, and the last one's called Departed Friends, Good Grief, and that was written for those who've lost loved ones, who are going on a grief journey and it's difficult, to help us to stay focused and really find healing in times when we're hurting.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And you're doing something once a week with this. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I have videos right now that I drop on Mondays.
On Mondays.
It's usually in the evenings.
Okay.
And the ones that I'm doing right now are Dating on Purpose, and it has little excerpts of thoughts that come actually from this book, and it's just me being able to just say in the moment, that thought instead of just reading the book. Because sometimes they used to tell us some things are caught and not taught. Some things people will grab easier when you tell it to them than if they have to sit and read it. So this is my way of giving people an opportunity to catch it, not just read it, but to catch the spirit behind it.
That's awesome. And how can is it via social media?
It's on my Facebook page.
It's on your Facebook page.
Yeah, on my Instagram. Instagram doesn't do that much, but it's on my Facebook page. I'm going to load them up later on to my YouTube channel, but right now, mainly on my Facebook page.
And what's your Facebook page title? They can reach you at JacquiHill-Goudeau.
I think it's just Jacqui at Just Jacqui. That's that I don't know, but Just Jacqui.
Well, and I'll have a link on my page and KCOH. But I am just honored that you would take the time to be here today. I think it's a very important topic. Again, I said that I don't think this book is just for people who are dating. I think it is also for married couples as well, because it's time to take dating seriously and take your relationship seriously. Which leads me into why I started off with the song Bag Lady by Erica Badu. I really believe, and this is a Carla J tidbit. Thank you for listening. So let me just give you the Carla J tidbit. I think too often a lot of us are walking around, women in particular, I think we're innate bag carriers. That's just my opinion. We are innately bag carriers, and oftentimes we are so used to carrying these bags that we don't realize, we forget that we're carrying them. But when somebody else sees us coming, the first thing they see are the bags. And if we camouflage the bags, some of us have pretty bags. Some of us have beautiful bags that we've camouflaged. So with that being said, Carla J tidbit for today is check your bags. Check your bags. See, start opening your bags, check your bags. And I believe a wonderful way to start by doing that is by purchasing Jacqui's book, A Shopper's Guide to Dating. It's an awesome book. I am so honored that you would be here today. I'm honored that you who are in the listening audience, my Facebook friends, I love you dearly. And remember, like I always say, be someone's beautiful, bright light in darkness. God bless you.